Get ready to dive into the comic book realm, where heroes rise and villains take the helm. We're here to dissect the stories and the art. Our source material, we tear the panels apart.
All right, here we go. Our summary for issues 4 through 6. In issue 4, Brás is 41, on the verge of becoming a father himself. His wife Anna goes into labor, but their joy is quickly shadowed when Brás learns at the hospital that his own father has died. He hides the news from Anna so as not to disturb her during childbirth, bearing the weight of both beginnings and endings in silence. At the funeral, Brás reflects on his complicated relationship with his father's fame and legacy, and even meets a half-sister he had never truly known. Later, his mother insists that he retrieve a baby gown chosen long ago by his father. At his parents' house, surrounded by memories and his father's study, Brás suffers a sudden heart attack and dies at that very moment. In issue 5 turns back to Brás's earliest years, opening the story with his miraculous birth during a citywide blackout, which earned him the nickname Little Miracle. We then see him as a boy at his grandparents' ranch, immersed in family traditions, childhood games, and the discovery of small but profound truths. He notices time's passage for the first time, realizing his mother will one day look like his grandmother, sensing the cycles of life unfolding. Amidst playful adventures and a first innocent kiss, Brás experiences fleeting moments that shape his understanding of family, memory, and identity. The issue closes with tragedy. Chasing a kite caught in power lines, young Brás is electrocuted, his bright life extinguished as suddenly as it began, underscoring the fragile beauty of childhood innocence. And then in issue 6, the narrative jumps to Brás at 33, when he is working as a reporter. A catastrophic plane crash in Sao Paulo consumes his newsroom, and Brás is assigned to write obituaries for the victims. He throws himself into his task, but his thoughts are haunted by Jorge, his best friend, who was supposed to be on a flight that day. Brás balances professional duty with the personal fear of loss. Eventually, Jorge calls to explain he narrowly avoided boarding the doomed flight. The brush with death leaves Jorge shaken. He decides to abandon his old life in search of meaning, while Brás drives off into the night to go find Jorge, reflecting on their friendship. On the road, though, his car collides with a truck whose drowsy driver
can't get away from fucking trucks.
had fallen asleep at the wheel, and Brás dies at 33, his obituary narrating how his words had brought solace to grieving families, but his own story ended suddenly. A couple things before you get into this one. There is a lot. There's some heaviness here. I mean, this whole series is heavy, and as we're getting towards these later issues, I'm starting to feel sad. I mean, that's just the effect this comic book is having on me. I'm not finding, I know I'm supposed to find joy, but I'm starting to realize how much he loses just at the moment he discovers something. And I think that's what really starts to weigh.
Could you imagine if we had done this the same episode as Layla Starr and The Crow?
I think Layla Starr was at least somewhat, as we get to the end of that, it's a bit hopeful.
Right. Even The Crow ends with like a positive note. He kills all the goons, he avenges his girlfriend, and he finally is free of the curse. By the end of that episode, you and I would have shot ourselves.
Yeah. The thing that stands out to me in issue 4, when he goes back to his mom sends him to get the baby gown. This is just after his dad had passed away. They had the funeral, I think, and everything. I was a little confused on the timeline here because I think Anna goes in, but she's not having contractions at the time when his dad dies. And then I think they have the funeral and then they go back into the hospital to have the baby. But anyway, when he goes to the house and he starts seeing the remnants of his dad, I remember going to my dad's house after he passed away, like shortly after. This really struck home to me because I remember walking out onto the deck. I have a picture of this in my phone because it struck me when I saw it. When I walked out to the deck where my dad and my stepmom used to sit at night and enjoy the beautiful sunset, sitting on the railing was a half-smoked cigarette and a Zippo. And that shit right there just reminded me exactly what Brás is going through here. There's another moment in the previous issue where Olinda leaves him. She's gone, and he's looking around the apartment that's completely empty, except, there's one of her I think it's a pair of underwear just hanging on a clothesline or something. He's seeing all these remnants, and he even says like he can't go back to that place. He's got 6 months left on the lease. He can't go back in there because of everything that's going to remind him of the life that could have been. That, I think, is probably one of the biggest things that spoke to me in this whole book. It was just those moments. So I wanted to bring that up first. I'm going to go ahead and let you go here. What were your thoughts?
I got to talk about when he's with his wife. And I remember both my kids, but especially the first one, because it was new. I'd never had a kid before. I did not leave Melissa's side until I was told get out of the room.
Oh, yeah.
You can't be in the room. They're going to give her like an epidural or anything. So there were certain times where I had to leave, but I never went further than the door. I was right outside the door. I also was guarding, like her mom wanted to go in there. I'm like, not, no, you're not. Like, it ain't about you, Brett. I was with my kid's mom the entirety of her pregnancy in the hospital. She's calling for him, like, don't leave me here. And he's like, I got to go take a call. I've had management positions where I've been on call where I've had to leave family functions to deal with work. It happens, but not during the birth of my kids. There are some parts of this book where he's a sympathetic character, and other parts of it, like, he is fucking oblivious. It's to the point of frustration.
I think the point we just made about how he is committed to being an adult and deadlines, whatever he needs to do to make his career work. I mean, I don't know how many times you've been on a call with Evan Bevins, who gets a call from the paper. He immediately has to answer it. Granted, we aren't pregnant wives, but he's committed.
He's never abandoned me during a podcast, but we've had a lot of reschedules.
Well, I have had plenty of recordings pause and edited out because Evan Bevins got a text. The point is, I feel like that's kind of a similar situation here where he has responsibility to whatever job he's doing. And I think newspapers can but regardless, I get it. I mean, clearly this is a big moment. You wouldn't expect him to be.
It's such an important thing to be there for your wife.
Right.
The time of her birthing your child. Like, that supersedes anything having to do with your job. I mean, with certain very, very specific exceptions. But the worst part of it, Jesse, part that I was like, I've been in that position before, where he's sitting outside with his mom, and his mom's like, go back to the house and get this like jumper or blanket or whatever it was. And he's like, I'm not leaving the hospital to run and go get this thing. He's like, well, your father would have wanted. Like, the mom is so manipulative. Like, go to the house, get this thing. He's like, it's not necessary. He'll have it when he gets home. No, your father would have wanted it this way. Leave the hospital. Leave your wife. Go all the way home. Grab this thing that I could have brought myself if it was that important. But no, let me be as disruptive and intrusive as I can possibly be in this moment that isn't about me, but I'm going to make it about me.
Oh my goodness, man. You had a reaction to that.
Almost threw the book through my bedroom window. Dude, I was ready to jump. You ever have a moment where you're ready to jump into the book and fight somebody? I was fucking pissed.
And then what happens? He goes and gets it and dies at his mom's house in his dad's study.
Even better.
Gosh.
I fucking hate it. I've never hated I didn't hate Thanos for killing half the universe. I kind of saw his point. This bitch is worse.
I guarantee you what she felt was like, hey, just go get this. Your dad would have wanted this. She obviously felt that they have all the time in the world. She wasn't expecting him to die.
Were her hands broken? She couldn't bring it with her. Was that important? No. How do you not? I want this to be on trial. How do you, Jesse Aloysius Starcher, how do you not see that she did that purposefully? To be involved upon this situation that has nothing to do with her.
Okay.
Have I been hurt before? A little bit. Have I experienced it before? A lot.
He had to leave her side, right? Because he had to smoke a cigarette.
Okay, I wasn't in love with that either. The only person I have sympathy for is his wife.
You've already established that you didn't like him anyway.
Not
some of the times.
Jesus Christ. Like, I know you're birthing my child. Let me go take this call that's super important. And then it's like, tell the mom to go jump in a river. He's like, all right, let me go back to the house to grab this paper bag with a baby cloth in it. And oh no, now I'm hit by another truck because apparently I can't get away from them.
Okay, issue 5 was where it was the young, I believe, or young Brás here. And that's kind of where I started to catch on. Like each time that he dies, maybe it represents a death of innocence as well, a new stage of life, whatever. I like that moment where they point out that he starts to realize that people start to get older. I'd probably have to take a good half hour to try and remember when I first started to recognize people getting elderly, or that people would get elderly, but it is something for sure to try and realize that the people that you love are going to get old. And I think now at 47, it's definitely setting in for me.
I remember being 18, 19, 20, and one of my friends wanting me to hook up with this girl who was like 30 and feeling like, ooh, you're a little old for me.
Oh, like, and you're like, whoa,
and like being a kid, and all the adults in my life are between the ages of 30 and 50, and they could have been 100 for all I knew. They all seemed old to me. I am at the age now that when I was a kid looked at and said, you are a million years old. And it's like, I'm wearing a shirt that says say perhaps to drugs. Like, the bastion of maturity that I am. But there are times where I absolutely feel every bit of almost 50. And then there are other times I'm like, I don't feel as old as the people that were old around me.
Right.
That goes back to retaining your youthful spirit, maturity, emotional intelligence. There's a lot that goes into it. That issue, I think, in a way that almost kind of elicits a theme in horror movies of the death of innocence. Like the kids hanging around with other kids, not a whole lot happens in this issue, and a kite gets like caught in a power line, and the kid innocently goes to touch the power line, and it stops just before it's implied he's going to touch the power line and die.
All right.
The issue just ends.
Mm-hmm.
And
we get the obituary.
Yeah, you get the obituary. And for me, that issue's commentary on like the death of childhood innocence. That I think also there's a message in there about what happens to children when they have no mentorship, guidance, parenting. When you're, like there's a bit where he goes to talk to his father and his father's like, I'm writing, leave me alone. Like there's plenty of times I'm here, making AI music or AI videos, working on podcasts, doing stuff at my computer. And my kids will come up to me and ask me stuff. I will stop what I'm doing every single time. Like, I can't really do it now, but if one of them needed me, I would put my headphones down and run over there. You certainly have over the years. How many times you've dropped your headphones or run after one of your children who's,
falling through a bed.
I was going to say, bound and determined to throw himself down the flight of stairs. Mongo need daddy, and just roll down the stairs. But actually, it's funny you mentioned the fucking bunk beds. That's one of my long-standing memories of you now. You having to it was late in the podcast, and you had to run away real quick because one of your kids had fallen through the bed. And then you were telling me about it. I'm like, did you just leave your child in a nest of nails and jagged wood? What did you do?
Caleb never slept on the top bunk after that.
This is your bunk, boy. I'm not sleeping up there. I'm traumatized.
Just grab the mattress, lays on the ground.
Like a homeless. But yeah, like we both have had different things that we've had. This is another, like, it's terrible, but it's funny. There's an actual podcast recording, a legit podcast recording that I think I was doing with Robert way back in the day. Like, my kids were babies. And I know this because one of them is a baby, one of them's an infant that's about to roll off the couch.
Oh my gosh.
Because you hear me doing the podcast with Robert, and you just hear me stop and yell, Melissa, get him! Two crashes.
Oh.
Howling, crying.
Oh no.
So I think what had happened was Jonas, who was a baby, was lying on the couch, and Melissa was somewhere, and Lily decided to mount him and give him the old ground and pound. They both tumbled off the couch. Don't neglect your children, is all I'm saying.
Always have time for them.
Always make time for your children before they roll off the couch or touch electrical wires.
The last thing I wanted to point out here was a neat bit of storytelling that they did in issue 6. I thought this was really cool. I made note of it. At the very beginning of issue 6 is where we meet the trucker. We see the trucker sitting at the bar, and
I ain't getting on no plane.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says. He goes, because at this point, the plane has crashed. It's on the news. And he goes, I've been all over the country, but I never took no damn plane in my life. Never. Just me and my truck and the Lord. With him by my side, nothing bad can happen to me inside my ride. All right, so that's what he says. We don't know who this guy is. He just is sitting at the bar. He says those words. He walks out. And then by the very end of the issue, as Brás is heading to try and find Jorge, because Jorge has called him and said, hey, I'm okay. And he's like, no, I'm going to come down there and be with my friend. We see it from the perspective of the trucker. But as he's talking here, Jorge was my best friend, and that's what friends do. They care. They find each other and stick together when things get rough. Friends are worth every effort. Friends matter. The trucker, he's kind of patting the steering wheel. No plane is better than you, buddy. God knows the roads we cross together, and you've always got my back. I take good care of you, and you take care of me. You're my best friend, and you never let me down. As he falls asleep at the wheel. Now, when I was reading this, I thought that was dialogue from Brás, but it's actually the trucker that's talking. But you could almost switch the two, because he's talking about his friend Jorge and how much he values their friendship. But it's very important, before we move on to the last 4 issues, it's very important to remember what happened here. The plane crashes. Jorge did not get on the plane because of some kind of shenanigans. And he was getting ready to take the next one. Then he realized the plane had crashed, and he's, freaking out about it. He calls Brás, and he's like, I need to, I need to think about my life. This has really messed with my head. I'm just going to take I'm not coming back to my career. He was a photographer for the newspaper. He wasn't even going to go back to that. He's like, I'm just not coming back.
Right.
That's important. We'll talk about it here in a second.
Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.